Welcome to another edition of Blood, Sweat and Metal. This is Jamie, your host, on the 21st of April 2016, coming to you live on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And tonight I have got one of the up-and-coming Australian band called Massive. I spoke to Brad just about 15 minutes, and he was hanging out with the band that's under their label as well, that's opening up for Black Sabbath on their farewell tour, Rival Sonnets. He was just hanging out with them, and he stepped outside to have a 15-minute conversation about their latest album, Destination Anywhere, and also their second leg of the supporting of Screaming Jets. They're going around Australia in May, and they're doing it at a venue near you. So we talk about Massive and how they've been recognised very quickly in their career. As soon as they started off, 6 months they were overseas, they were getting recognised overseas. They toured with a band that we recently interviewed back in 2014 called The Treatment. They went on some dates in the UK. We talked briefly about that as well. And also a bit about AC/DC, how they think about what's been transpired over the last course of a couple of weeks, with Axel now joining as a guest vocalist, whether it's to fulfill the remaining date or a permanent role. So we get his thoughts on that as well. Yes, I just recently, on a Sunday night, went to the Black Sabbath farewell gig here in Adelaide with Matt. Me personally, I know I'm going to get heat from this. Musically, Black Sabbath was great on the night. Vocally, Ozzy wasn't that great. Yes, I know age and drugs and alcohol plays a part over his career, but somehow where I was sitting, the volume of his vocal wasn't really impacting where I was. Down the front, people were saying it sounded great. That was the same thing that happened in 2013 at the Kiss Clipsal concert with Motley Crue. Sounded great down the front, but the further you get back, you can hear different pitches and different volume of the lyrical content coming out of the speakers and that. So where I was up the back for Black Sabbath, and the volume wasn't that great. Until it went to Paranoid, the last song, it just somehow they turned his vocals up, turned Tommy Amoni's guitar just down a bit, and we got the full volume of his vocals towards the end. I will say this, where I was sitting, around the time where the drum solo started, people were actually leaving the venue. They weren't going to the toilet, they weren't going to get munchies or a drink from the bar. They actually left the building. So whether they're trying to get home for the next day to get to work or whatnot, who knows? But yeah, it is what it is. If they can leave, they can leave. Before I get into the interview, the audio, I was on the phone with Brad, as I say. Iron Maiden just around the corner. Now, if you're not excited as much as I am, there's something wrong with you. Yes, there is last tickets for Iron Maiden, $66.60. From what I'm hearing, the tour is not really selling that well. That's why they're putting extra tickets on for a cheap price. But if you're up in Brisbane on the May the 2nd, Ed Force One will be landing in Brisbane on the 2nd of May. So for those Maiden fans up there that like to see Iron Maiden plane that's been piloted and captained by the great Bruce Dickinson, that's a day that you need to be up at Brisbane Airport. On the 2nd of May, go there, take photos, take some video footage, and just post it up on our page if you can. We'll be doing the same thing here in Adelaide. We'll be down at the airport, seeing the plane land in, and we're going to do some other things on the day of the concert. I'm trying to hook up a live feed so we can do some mini videos talking among the fans and what have you. We're doing something special for Blood, Sweat and Metal on the 12th of May here in Adelaide. David, who is my co-host of the show, he's coming over from Melbourne on the day of the event. So it's going to be a great get-together. If you have got your tickets, you know what you're in for. If you haven't got your tickets, you don't have time to waste. Get onto the website, and if you want to purchase the last tickets, by all means get there. And $66, what can you ask for one of the icon bands of all time, from the new wave of British metal, whatever you want to call it. Well, we're going to give you this interview. I spoke to Brad. As I mentioned, he was meeting and chatting with the band that's opening up for Black Sabbath on the farewell tour, Harlaxton. He had to step outside the venue just to have a 15-minute conversation. We'll talk about the latest album, Destination Somewhere, and a bit about Full Throttle as well, the EP that was released before that, and amongst other things. So if you see this, down below, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, costs you nothing. Just click on the subscribe button, go to our Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Podomatic, TuneIn, any other resource that you can find that we are on. Give us a subscribe, share it around, and remember, as I always say, stay thirsty for metal. Here's Massives. Gotcha. Well, it's a Thursday night. It's a massive night. I'm sitting here talking to Brad, having a nice cold one to keep me fluids up because I was crook early in the week. But I'm talking to Brad from the mighty Australian band Massives. Good evening, Brad, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for chatting, man. It's a cold one here in Melbourne, but I'm having a couple of cold ones to keep me warm anyway, mate. So rock and roll.
Yeah. And man, you got some exciting news. There's some news coming out of the camp. The new album, Full Throttle, will be released tomorrow. You guys are absolutely thrilled about this, and not only that, you're also on the road with Screaming Jets as well.
Yeah, I mean, the album's out in 3 hours, mate. So as of when we speak, so it's full steam ahead for us. And yeah, we toured with the Jets last year and became really good mates with them. So they've got a new album coming out in 2 weeks' time. So we thought we would team up again and do a kind of a dual album tour, I guess. So yeah, us and the Jets in May.
Just want to ask, going back to the Screaming Jets, have you learnt any things from them? Have they taught you anything? Have they gave you any bit of advice how to maintain the exposure that you guys have got? Because you guys have travelled around Australia. Not only that, you also squeezed in some support acts like Glenn Hughes and Lita Ford, just to name a few. But have Dave and the boy from Screaming Jets gave you a bit of advice as well?
I don't know if they've actually handed us advice. I think you just learn when you're on the road. I think you're out with a band who's done it and who are continuing to do it. And if you've got any smarts about you, you watch and you learn and you listen. So they're all in their late 40s, early 50s, and they still rock as hard as when they were in their 20s. And they still party as hard as when they were in their 20s too, mate. Don't think they've settled down in their older age. So I think you learn a lot just by being around it. So yeah, I mean, we learn to be professional by watching professional bands, and we learn to rock out and how to sustain it by hanging out with badass rock and rollers like the Jets.
Well, what I want to go on to is that since you guys started, things have moved incredibly fast with you guys since you formed. Because within 6 months, you guys head over to America to showcase some gigs over there. You signed with a management company. You done all that, and now you got the debut album, Full Throttle. Things have just gone from one extreme to another.
Yeah, I mean, well, we're very lucky to get the management back then, and we signed with Earache Records over in Europe, and and a lot of that is luck. But me and Jared, the drummer, we've been playing in bands were, were in high school. And, we've been in and out of bands since then. So, people think that we jumped out of nowhere. We've been playing for 10 years doing the same thing and, slogging it out and doing the crappy gigs on Tuesday night and whatever. It just happened to be Massive was the right band at the right time, and we've been lucky enough to go to America and go to Europe and play some big shows, the biggest shows we've ever played. So yeah, I mean, it is hard work, but it's also we're very lucky to have met the people and experienced what we have.
And not only that, you've been getting some radical reviews, and you're getting them constantly too. I'm yet to write up my review of the album. I have got the album. I've got to write it up. A little bit behind due to the illness I had earlier this week. But with that being said, this album, Full Throttle, is a full throttle. No things should be squashed down or sugar-coated or anything. This is a real in-your-face rock and roll, and it's what Australia always known about. We had so many great bands come out of Australia, like AC/DC and Screaming Jets and so forth, but you guys are trying to raise the bar even more so, because these bands like AC/DC, and we'll go into a little bit of AC/DC in a sec, are starting to come to the end of their career, but you guys are just another breath of fresh air to keep it going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's those bands have been around and done that for so long, and those are the bands we aspire to be like and we're inspired by. So, I mean, we would never put ourselves in the same, league as that. We would never, think that we're any better than anyone else, but we know that, rock and roll isn't as big as it was back in the 70s and 80s. So, we're doing something that isn't as popular anymore. So hopefully we're doing it as good as what was happening back then, and hopefully the people still, get attracted to it and want to jump on board. We're just doing music that we like to do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, let's go on to AC/DC. What are your thoughts of the replacement with Brian Johnson with Axl Rose? I mean, a lot of fans weren't even happy when Brian Johnson took over from Bon Scott, but we fast forward to 36 years to today, Axl Rose has basically been given a slot. I don't know if it's a full-time position. I think it's just to fulfill the rest of the tour. But being an Aussie, as we are, what is your opinion on that?
I've been asked that question a lot, mate, and every time before it happened, I was a bit critical. I didn't, I thought, you can't replace Brian, and you can't. Like, I don't think anyone's trying to replace him. I think they're just, trying to get through their tour. But being a Gunners fan and being an AC/DC fan, I don't think it'll be, natural, or I don't think it'll even be very good for the legacy. But I can't wait to see it, because it's two of my favourite bands going to be on stage together. So, I'm a bit conflicted in that way, because I actually think Axl will nail it. I think he will be brilliant at it, and and it's not the right thing, because he shouldn't be up there. But you've got to. I want to see it, man, and I'll be sitting by YouTube waiting for it to appear, mate, because I'll be watching every single video that's put up.
Because the reason why I mentioned AC/DC, you guys have now been acclaimed the next best thing to emerge out of Australia, alongside with Airborne. That must be a big shoes to fill into as well, because not a lot of bands nowadays get that kind of exposure, especially that recognition and being recognised as a true rock and roll band from Australia. Not many bands do succeed overseas, and you guys, as I mentioned before, really took off from the get-go, and you went overseas, you toured, and that. But majority of the bands here in Australia don't even get that recognition. So that is big fill shoes that you guys are putting on at the moment.
No, I mean, we're very humbled by the reviews we get, and to be put in the same category even as Airborne. Like, I mean, they've done it and they've done very well for themselves overseas. So, you know, I mean, we take all that in our stride and we try not to get too far ahead of ourselves. It's still very exciting to see, but, you know, in the end, we're still just guys that like to make music and like to play. So, you know, as much great press as we get, we just, you know, we'll take that in our stride and hope that people like it as much as the reviews, I guess.
Well, in 2015, you went into the studio to record Destination Somewhere, and then basically this is a follow-up to the Full Throttle album as well. But the thing is, with all that process going through the studio work and all of that, how much time did it take you to get the follow-up to bit of a pattern, so to speak, because you guys were touring in between as well, off the back of that Destination Somewhere, and also going on the road with Screaming Jets now. So basically, how long did the process took for this project that you've got coming out tomorrow to eventuate?
I mean, we never stopped writing. So when Full Throttle was finished, we were still writing songs, you know, and some of these songs are now 2 years old off the new album. But I think, you know, we were touring a lot, and a lot of these songs were written while we were overseas, and a lot of these songs were written while we were on tour with the Jets, and you know, we all came back and, you know, we didn't really have a set pre-production time. We had these selection of songs, and we thought they were all really good. So we knew we had an album's worth, so we went into the studio, and I think, I'm standing in the middle of the street, and everyone's saying good day. I think it was just a sense of we had the songs and we wanted to go back in the studio to record them. So it was very natural in that sense. We were in the studio for 3 weeks and we ripped it out. We went back to Light Hills Studios, which is where we did Full Throttle, and we went back with Ricky Ray, who produced it. And, you know, he gets us so much and he understands what we're about. So we just went in and, you know, it was no stress, no thoughts, just get out there and rip out the album. So we're pretty stoked with how it came out.
And not only that, how have these songs been going over live so far to the audience while you've been on the road with Screaming Jet? And I know the second leg starts on the 6th of May in Victoria at the Harlem Hotel, but how have these new songs been going over live? Have you played a couple of the songs already live?
Yeah, we've been, on the last tour, we ripped out about 3 or 4 each night. We didn't want to just do a whole set of new stuff. We just, you know, would mix it up. And we also played a lot of new places we'd never been to. Like we got right up into Cairns and towns where we'd never been to those sorts of towns and cities. So, you know, those places really had no idea who we were. So those nights we could rip out, you know, 5 or 6 new songs and it wouldn't matter. So I guess, you know, it's hard when you've got the crowd, you know, the people want to hear the songs they know. It's a bit different to rip out some new songs, but in the end, they all were into it. They all loved it. So, you know, I think we have a great album coming out. We just got to get it out to the masses and start playing it, I guess.
Yeah. One thing I need to tell you, back in late 2014, early 2015, I had an interview on my podcast called The Treatment. You guys were over there in 2014. Do a couple of shows over there, and they really highly put you in high regard in that. I want to ask, how was it like touring with The Treatment over in the UK?
They're a great band, man, and they're a very professional outfit, and they're very tight. And they know how to. They're a touring rock band. You can tell that they've been on the road for a very long time because they know what goes on. And you know, we rock up and we're a bunch of drunk idiots, and they rock up and everything's sorted, and as I said before, like when you're on tour with a very professional outfit, you learn a lot of stuff. So, and you know, their music is right up our alley. We like that high energy rock and roll as well. So we really hit it off, and we became really good mates. And yeah, I mean, they're a band that's underappreciated. Like they should be up there with the Airborns and well, they're up there even bigger. They should be up there with the big ones. So. You know, they've got a new album out and they're doing very well for themselves, and we're going to catch up with them next time we're over in the UK and have a couple more beers and, you know, keep the friendship going, I guess.
Yeah. And they just recently, last year, renewed their singer. The old singer's left and they've got a new singer now. A new album is out, by the way, too. It only got released last week. It's a killer album, too. But also, you sign up with a record label who's also has a band who's out in Australia right now supporting Black Sabbath, Rival Sons. I just seen them recently on Sunday here in Adelaide. They are impressive band.
Well, you wouldn't believe who we're at. We're at the Rival Sons gig right now, their little sideshow in Melbourne.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we know the Rival Sons, mate. We're very familiar with those boys, you know, label mates of ours, and they are world class, you know. They are, without being too cliche, they're the future of rock and roll right there. So, you know, to see them here in Australia is huge because we love those guys, and yeah,
and
the flesh.
And not only that, you guys are pretty close too, by the looks of things too, because the thing is, for what I saw on Sunday night and hearing stories in Melbourne and continuing on throughout the tour, Rival Sons are just another breath of fresh air. For my personal experience when I saw them on Sunday night, they've got that Led Zeppelin feel to them. And
absolutely, yeah.
The thing is, no matter where they go, they are pulling in a new crowd and they're bringing a new audience to their fan base and whatnot. But this is something that I think Australia's been kind of missing for a bit too. When you know, when you have the top 40, when you have the top 40 music going around our ears all the time, sometimes we tend to miss out on some of these bands out there, and Rival Sons just happens to be one of them.
Oh, mate, and here in Australia we're a little bit secluded, but overseas, Rival Sons are a big deal. So, you know, to be on the same label as them, and they've done so well overseas, and, you know, we're about to catch up with them in a couple of hours after their set, say good day and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really cool place to be, and they've done very well for themselves. So, you know, kudos to them. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on this album. I know you guys got an album launch on the Saturday at the Evelyn Hotel on the 23rd. You're also going back on the second route run for the supporting of the Screaming Jets. Like I mentioned, on the 6th of May, you're at the Harlem Hotel in Victoria. You are coming to the Gov on May the 13th. Surprisingly enough, that's the night after Iron Maiden are here in Adelaide, mind you.
All right.
So, looks like Adelaide's getting a double dose of pure rock and roll metal.
Oh, that's going to be a big night then, eh?
Yeah. So, it's all cool, man. And I want to congratulate you on the album. I'm supporting you guys. Can't wait to see you on the 13th of May. It's a Black Friday as well. But also, just to hear the sound quality in a bigger live audience, because I've seen you before down in some of the other places in Adelaide, but I haven't seen you at the Gov before, so the Gov is the place to be on the 13th of May.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait, man. Let's do it. I'll see you there.
No worries, man. Well, guys, we're going back to our regular program, but thank you, Brad, and we'll support Massive 100%.
Absolutely, man. Cheers for the chat.
No worries. Thank you, mate.
Catch you, mate. See you.
Bye.